Well, thank you for having me. Again, I was here this morning at 8 o'clock with Glen doing the keynote. Glen is my co-author for the book, America Goes Vegan, because that's what we're doing. It's happening, and we're making it happen. And I wrote the most of the recipes in here. And it's a whole lot of comfort food. So that's really what it's about. And why? Because we're Americans, we're used to certain types of foods. And when we have guests over and things like that, occasions, holidays, we want to be able to create things that are closer to what we're used to in a traditional way. But we're, of course, wanting to do it cruelty-free, and we want to do it healthy too. So as far as healthy, it means for me, everybody has different opinions about that, I think. But for me, it's whole foods, just staying away from processed foods as much as possible. And, explaining that too. I explain that in the chapter 7 in the book. And then oil, staying away from oils, trying to have low fat meals. And people think, oh, I can't do that. It's like everything has fat in it. Well, you know what? Most things don't. It's just choosing those foods that don't have a lot of fat and basing your meals from that. So that's what I love doing. And so today I'm making, you guys will be making these. These are barbecued ribs. So this is my famous peace plate that I love so much because we're all about peace. And there it is. And these are, I made some of these earlier, but look at that, you guys. So this is something that you can make in your own kitchen. And it's a fun recipe that I had, had a good time developing. It smells so good. All right. So without further ado, let's get going on that. All right. So first of all, you're going to need a barbecue sauce. So it's barbecue ribs. So you're going to start with that. So what I did was I have a recipe in the book on page 153, and it's for barbecue sauce. But so I made the barbecue sauce, but you can also purchase barbecue sauce that's oil-free. Now, this one's from Trader Joe's. This is their Kansas City style. And I'm Tracy's Real Foods. I have a food company. I ship foods nationwide. And recently, last 6 months or so, I started making my own burgers. And there's great recipes in the book for burgers, excuse me. But I'm all about clean convenience in the burgers. So let me show you what I put in the sauce. And then I'll get these ingredients to show you guys. Okay, so if you're this is what goes, a lot of people don't know, they've never made their own barbecue sauce, or they just buy it, or they just go to a restaurant. You can make your own. It's going to be a lot. You avoid the processed sugars by blending in dates. I blended mine. I used some liquid smoke. It's going to taste like, it's got to be smoky. I used some blackstrap molasses, mustard, tomato paste, and then a lot of spices and some water. So it's, just adding those things in your blender and blending up, you can make your own barbecue sauce. Oh, it has some vinegar too. It has apple cider vinegar. I'm using this for another recipe, so I have it staged. But you can easily make your own and just have fun with it, or you can buy it. So if you want, like me, if you want your barbecue sauce to not be quite as sweet or salty, you can thin it out with some tomato paste or something like that and have it be a little less overly salty, overly sugary. You can also add a little more vinegar to it. But what I did was make my own. So now.
How long does it last if you make that barbecue sauce?
Oh, a long time, because it's got the vinegar in it. And keep it in a well-sealed jar in your refrigerator. It should last for a good week or two. As long as, you know, my trick too is to keep a less oxygen in there. So if you have a jar that fits the sauce, it will last longer. So I'm using the recipe originally, I used jackfruit. Hold on a second.
By the way, the recipe is there in America Goes Vegan.
So I used jackfruit. So, but I'm going to use soy curls this time because I have a lot of soy curls, and I like to show that you can change things up. But jackfruit is, you have a green jackfruit, not as sweet as the regular jackfruit that's, you know, in the big fruit. And they keep it in a brine, so which is a salty water. So it's more of a savory type of experience. But I'm using soy curls. So these are, if you're not familiar with them, they're from Butler Foods. I think they're the only ones that make them. There we go. And you can just add water. And they don't take very long at all to hydrate. So they're dried, you see. And you just add some water. And you can hydrate them that way. All right. But so really it's about flavor, right? You're just flavoring and you're adding texture. So the texture is going to be from these soy curls because they're a lot like little pieces of chicken. But what are they made of, you guys? They're just soy. They're only just soybeans, soy flour. So it still has the fiber. A lot of the meat substitutes don't have the fiber anymore. And this one does. This is, you know, just the whole soybean. So I'm going to get this ready to drain here, over here. And meanwhile, I'm going to cut up our veggies and start sauteing. So I'm going to just use my food processor here to do an onion. So that's going to add flavor and nutrition. If you don't have a new food processor, I just recommend that you get one. I get Cuisinart. I like Cuisinart. Okay, and you want to get small pieces because you saw what we made. It has a nice, even texture to it. So you notice I didn't put oil in. These are very moist. You can see that there's a lot of moisture in your onions. All right.
So would a blender on pulse work like a food processor?
What's that?
A blender on pulse.
Yes, you could. It's the thing with the blenders, it's very small, right? You can see how big this is, right? At the base. Blenders are very small. So it's tough doing a lot at once. So you can do small amounts and keep doing them if you want. You know, just do some, dump them out, put some more in, dump them out. So that might work for you. So mushrooms. Now mushrooms are super healthy. They're a cancer fighter. They're really great to include in your diet every day. This is a delicious way to do it. They're delicious. So again, just going ahead and using the food processor. I think that blender would be really tough. You can always chop them up if you know, I'm just a big fan of using the food processor. Guess what? Look at how fast that was. Okay, and so we're going to add some of our barbecue sauce in here. And I soaked some sun-dried tomatoes, just all the good stuff, so much flavor. So all these things have flavor, except the soy curls really don't. But we're adding all these ingredients that give it lots of flavor. So you can see now what's happened to the soy curls. They're gotten like, see that? They're soft. They're already soft. So all this is busy sauteing. Just give it a little stir. I'll drain my soy curls. And then you just squeeze out the excess water. So I tell you, I kept hearing all these good things many, many years ago about soy curls. And so I finally ordered some from Butler. It's not available in a lot of stores. There are some vegan stores that definitely carry it. And I let it sit there because I was intimidated by, okay, what do I do? Now they give you a really great little packet of recipes when you purchase them and when you order them. So I put them in my burgers. So the burgers I make, my all-American burgers that I sell, also have soy curls. So I'm not afraid anymore, obviously. Again, we want these to be nice and fine. See, this is actually still a little bit big. So you want it to add texture. You want it to add texture, but you don't want it to be, you know, too big because you want smaller surface area. Okay. All right, so now we'll start adding some more flavor here. Some sun-dried tomatoes. So a lot of times they come in strips. Sometimes they come in small pieces like this. This is, I was lucky to find these little, they're called tomato flakes. They're going to add, you know, a nice color, right? Make it look more like meat and of course, tomatoes are so much flavor. Sun-dried tomatoes especially. So go ahead and add them. Don't worry about too much liquid in there because it's going to cook away. And the liquid helps it to saute without the oil, a little bit of liquid. And then we're going to add about a half a cup of our barbecue sauce in here so we can infuse the barbecue flavor. We're going to be putting the barbecue, you saw the barbecue on the outside too, but the inside, about a half a cup. So it was about 3 cups of soy curls, and which, you know, kind of shrinks down to about 2 cups after it gets moisture and you squeeze it out. Because when they're dry, they of course have a lot of, they have a lot of, you know, they're taking up a lot of space in that measuring cup.
Thanks.
All right.
One question for you, Tracy.
Excuse me?
One question for you is,
Yes.
are Butler soy curls a whole food?
Butler soy curls are, yeah, like I said, they're made out of soy flour.
It's a complete soybean, right?
Yeah, they're just they're soybeans. They're non-GMO. My friend said she's been in connection with the company and that they haven't gotten their organic certification yet, that they use organic soybeans, but it costs a lot to actually put organic on your label. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I face the same problem as a company that uses organic ingredients in my products. It's, you know, there's a lot of rules and regulations about that. So apparently they use organic soy. But yeah, is it the same as using a soybean? No. I guess if you used chickpeas, that would be a little bit of a different texture, not quite as chewy, but that would be a whole food. And I say a lot of these recipes, like a chickpea tuna, you could use soy curls, you could use jackfruit, you could use chickpeas. So those kinds of recipes, You know, they're kind of, you can use all those things to add the texture, and using the chickpeas would be less processed, of course. Yeah, cooked
Got it.
chickpeas. Okay, so what I did was I put my lid on there, and then I'm gonna get ready to stir it all up. So in here, I'm going to add some flaxseed. Now we need to make it all stick together, right? You saw how it was all kind of together, and you can actually even pick it up. So we're going to make flax egg by adding some water and some flax seeds. It's about a 1/4 cup and a 1/2 cup. So 1/4 cup flax and 1/2 cup of water. And then that's going to thicken up, and you actually don't even need to wait. It just happens. And some garlic. Where's my garlic? So I'm going to add garlic to our mix here too. So I didn't see the garlic at first. You can add the garlic anytime. You cook this for quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and add it to our saute here. But you could add it to the bowl. So I'll go into the same place. But a lot of garlic's going to add a lot of flavor. Okay. So this is a great recipe to make for your dad on Father's Day. Or on 4th of July. Or just any, you know, bring to a barbecue that you're going to. Just wow them with this. Wow them with your plant-based ribs. And then, you know what? Then you don't even need to mess with that barbecue, especially if people are meat eaters there and you don't want to put your own food on their barbecue. Just bring this. Bring a lot. Make sure everybody tries it.
Question from Beth, is that ground flax?
Of course, yes. Grind up your flax seeds. And keep them in the fridge after you grind them up. You can also, of course, buy them ground up. All right, so this mix here, we want it to get pretty dry. So I'm going to just go ahead and turn it off. Okay. So now I'm just going to add my rice in here. So this is just cooked rice. I have a recipe for, if you can believe it, cooking rice, because unfortunately, rice could have arsenic. So chicken almost definitely does because they give it to them in their feed. But because of, you know, polluted soil or different things, rice is, if it's grown where they used to grow cotton, where they used arsenic in the old days, there could be some arsenic left in the soil. And it's a very water intensive crop. So the water can, you know, absorb a bunch of arsenic and it could get into your rice. So anyway, I've looked up all the different methods to perhaps get rid of, not perhaps, but to actually decrease your arsenic exposure from rice. And my favorite is to boil it for about 5 minutes, a big pot of water, boil it for about 5 minutes, like pasta, drain it, rinse it, then measure out your water. And you can add a little less because a little water gets absorbed in, but in 5 minutes, not much. And then I put it in the, and then I cook it like 40 minutes. So brown rice, usually 45 minutes, but 40 minutes it gets cooked because it's already gone for that 40 minutes.
So Deb is asking, do you ever use an instant pot?
I do, yes. I use an Instant Pot, not for the rice, because of that, because of my special way of cooking it, but I use it for beans for all the time. Okay, so this recipe makes a lot. So the first time I made it earlier today, I did half the recipe. We're gonna be eating these for a while, you guys. I wish you could all come over though and smell it. It's amazing. You know, but they freeze very well. That's the one great thing about a lot of these foods that we make. You can make a lot and then freeze it and just have a treat, you know, waiting for you when you get home from work, which is, when I coach people, I always say, really try to do that. Have a cooking day where you prep ahead, you know, create things for Buddha bowls, you know, your grains, your beans, your tofu, your veggies, maybe have those prepped. And then you can just pull everything out, have a sauce prep, pull everything out, and create your food. Because, you know, if you think about it when you're coming home and you go, you know what, there's no food in the house. Well, where are you gonna do? You're gonna stop. You'll end up stopping at, because you're starving, you'll stop at like a fast food or something. Okay, so more flavor is, this is some tomato paste and some mustard. So I mean, I would recommend you guys use whatever you like, just to add flavor to this. I really happen to love the mustardy flavor. So obviously there's mustard in the barbecue sauce, but I'm adding more here. And then I've got some oat flour. So all the recipes are gluten-free in the book. You can, if you're not gluten-free, you can trade it out. That's what I say in that one chapter. I talk about just trade out, use your favorite, use your whole wheat pastry flour, whatever you like. So this is just going to help these guys stick together. So that's what I use in my burgers too, to get them to stick together, is oats, oat flour, flax. So then you're getting a nice dough here. Now in the book, I have you putting it in one big shape on your baking sheet. So let me continue to mix this. So your baking sheet lined with parchment. And I reuse my parchment. So you'll see. Just kind of flip it over. And what I'm going to do is, to make it cook a little quicker, I'm going to just go ahead and divide this into 2 and do 2. Or you could just do 1. But, you know, obviously, if it's a smaller volume, it's going to cook faster. So you just kind of put it on your board. Let me do the other one. So this, again, if you're just joining us, this is soy curls and rice and mushrooms and onions, and then a whole bunch of flavoring added, and some of our barbecue sauce. I'm getting my hands moist because you're going to shape these guys. Now I'm not shaping them into ribs at first. What I'm doing is shaping them into kind of a block. It's a little warm, not too bad. I could see you could put lentils in this too. That would be a nice texture. Use your hands, get a bowl of water handy. Okay, so now your oven is at 400, and you kind of you see how I'm just making it square or rectangle. And it's about, the main thing is that you want these to be about 4 inches wide, and the length doesn't matter so much. Hands off. All right, so I'm gonna put these in the oven. So this recipe, you know, you can see it's a process. So that's why it's I make a lot. Because why you want to go through all this and then, you know, only have like 1 meal. So this is going to make a couple meals unless you have a really big family or something, or you're having a party. All right, so that goes for about 20 minutes. Or about, well, I'll say about 15 because I made them smaller. Oops. Okay. Okay, so what goes with ribs? Any guesses? What would you have as a salad with those ribs? Coleslaw, right? So let's make our coleslaw. So we got a recipe for creamy coleslaw in the book. And I had mentioned on the keynote, everybody should make this. This is the mayo. Because you need mayo to make coleslaw. Well, traditionally anyway.
What is in the mayo?
So the mayo, good question. I have the ingredients right here. I knew that everybody would be curious about that. Can you see that? So the tofu. So this is the tofu I use. It's the sprouted. It says extra firm. You know, it's not super firm. It's got a lot of holes in it. It's interesting when you buy these brands of tofu, you really just have to be familiar and experiment, because it's got quite a bit of water in it. There's a super firm tofu that is shrink wrapped, and you can feel how firm it is. You can bounce it on the ground. That is firm. This is not super firm. It's great, perfect for making mayo. And miso. Miso paste is, I love miso paste. It's adds so much flavor. It's got that umami that we love. And these are cashews. I was able to find these really chopped up cashews, so I don't have to soak them. You can soak, if you don't have a high-speed blender, make sure you soak your cashews. It calls for, so the small recipe is like a cup of tofu, which is one of those little containers, a quarter cup of this, quarter cup of cashews, a tablespoon of miso, tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, and a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. So super easy and easy to remember. I love recipes like that are easy to remember. Okay, so you guys see there? So I just made this. When it gets in, when you put it in the fridge, it gets really super thick. It's nice and creamy, but you see it has that sheen like mayo, but it's not greasy because there's no oil. So it's it's very interchangeable with lots of, like a sour cream even. So I just keep this on hand, put it on our tacos, put it on our sandwiches, use it in chickpea salad, everything. You know, when I'm making a salad, if I don't have a dressing, I'll just put a dollop of this on, and then a bunch of balsamic glaze on there. So, you know, you saw all those flavorful ingredients and it's almost a salad dressing in itself. So, so that's why I love it so much. I love this recipe and I love that it's so easy to remember. So for, the dressing for this coleslaw, this is what I just started making many, many years ago. Whenever we'd have coleslaw, when my kids loved coleslaw. So I started, you know, I used to use veganase, but I found out that it's, you know, not a good choice. It's just basically oil, flavored up oil. And so I started making my own mayo and I made a different recipe, but I narrowed it down to this recipe. The other recipe had so many ingredients and this one's super fast and easy. So actually I'll start with my rice vinegar. So it's, what's simple is it's like a half a cup of the mayo and then a half tablespoon of these ingredients. So rice vinegar, rags. Okay, this is unusual, I think, to put in here, but it's got so much flavor and we just love it mixed with these things. A little maple syrup, or you can use date syrup or date paste if you make a date paste. I have a recipe for that in the book to make your own date paste. And then I squirt in even more, a little more mustard. I use this horseradish mustard because it had Dijon to begin with. And so this adds a different, like, so always a little liquid there, different flavor component, just a little touch, and then some pepper. All right.
One question from BJ.
Sure.
Do you freeze the leftovers and then heat in the oven or stovetop the ribs when you make them?
I would, you know what, they're really good cold. So you could just freeze them and let them thaw out and have them that way, or you can put them in a toaster oven or I guess in the microwave a little bit. I wouldn't put them on a pan necessarily because they are coated with sauce. So they're coated with the barbecue sauce. So you might lose the barbecue sauce. So I'd say, you know, any of those methods, maybe just back in the oven.
Right.
Okay, so here's our sauce.
Another question is, when you make the mayo, do you need to emulsify or nothing? You don't need emulsification at all, right? Because oil, you have to pour it slowly when you make the mayo.
No, I just blend it. I blend it in the blender.
That's it.
Got those cashews and the tofu. So those need to blend together. I use a Vitamix. So yeah, I think that emulsification you're talking about, is that like oil when people add oil from the top?
Right.
For making real mayo, right?
Right. Well, this is real mayo too.
Yes. Yes. Looks like I made a little more veggies. I didn't really measure, so I'm going to add a little more mayo. So here's my mayo. I just keep it in a jar, and look how thick it got because it was in the fridge. The other was sitting out, getting ready for the demo. So you can add just a little more. You can add a little more of your other ingredients too. But you know, you obviously want your creamy coleslaw to be creamy. So you just keep adding until you get it all good in the way you want it. then you can just have a taste and just see if you want a little more vinegar or a little more sweet. So, you know, I'm not afraid of using a little bit of like maple syrup as a sweetener. I don't use a lot. And so I think that's what people need to understand about sugars is they're a flavor component in your food. And you don't need to worry about it if you're not eating, you know, a ton of sugar. You can just tell. But in dressings, it's, you know, to balance the vinegar and all that, it's a little sweet is good. So there's that. So any other questions? See, we have a few more minutes. I also had planned to make Liz Gary, if she's still here watching, she loves this recipe from the book. It's the shake. The chocolate shake. And we're all, you know, we got to have desserts, and there's super easy ones in this book. So the chocolate shake on page 243. So I figure while we're waiting for our ribs, because we want to see how that goes, we can make a shake. And I just want to show you, you know, how amazing it is to use bananas as a shake. I had to put everything, store everything in the fridge, so, and the freezer. So who out there makes an ice cream or banana ice cream? What I like about this recipe is, oh, let me put these things away, is that it's easier than making an ice cream, because an ice cream is super thick. And so I do have a recipe for if you have a regular soft banana on hand, you know, unfrozen, you can put that at the bottom or part of it, and then that catches the blades nicely, and then and mixes in with the frozen bananas and gives a really nice texture for an ice cream, which is just basically ice cream made out of bananas. And you know, it's funny, people they think it's not going to be good, but when you try it, it's amazing. Like you know, frozen bananas are a whole different animal from regular bananas. Would you guys agree? Right? It's
Well,
like they're creamy. Yeah. They're
yeah.
you know, they just become super creamy, and you know, they're really good in desserts. Just add them into your desserts or put them in your breakfast cereal, in your oatmeal. They kind of just start to melt and become so good. They're just a really nice treat. So, oh, here my dates are over here.
That was Kimaya's favorite ice cream when she was growing up. It was just half a banana that I stick a lollipop in it, lollipop stick in it, and put it in the freezer.
Oh
and give it to her.
Yeah. I mean, you know, and the kids, it's like they don't know. They think this is an amazing treat. That's a great idea. Just a banana. Didn't even put it in chocolate, huh?
No, just put a lollipop stick in it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So I'm doing a little bit less of the whole recipe here, but it's usually about 3 cups of, it's about 2 cups, 3 cups of bananas, but I'm doing 2, and then what was it? A cup of milk. So it's about 3/4 cup of milk. So I use soy milk. I put the chocolate in. So this has got some powdered chocolate in it. So it's just cocoa powder. About so it's a cup of milk, cup of ice, 2 tablespoons of dates, 3 cups of bananas and 3 tablespoons of cacao or cocoa powder. So here's our dates. So make sure that you get pitted dates, and if they are pitted, just still check. Or, you know, if you buy the medjool dates, you get that pit out, but still check your dates no matter what, because all my cookies I make are date sweetened, and believe me, the machines don't always get the pits out. So, and then some ice. And I'm going to get the milk out just in case. So this is my favorite. And Dr. Michael Greger just did a video on, you know, which is the healthiest. And it's definitely, you know, getting, you know, just a soy milk is the healthiest because it's got, of course, protein in it. And a lot of the it has nutrition in it. A lot of the milks don't really have a lot of nutrition, the plant milks. But do we actually need this? No. A lot of people, you know, a lot of the world grows up without any kind of like milk like beverage. But since we're used to having one, then this is what you might use if you want to give it to your child, especially. All right, we're going to segue over a little bit here. Back to our ribs. So you can see that it started to firm up. Remember how soft it was? So what I do now is I just put a thin coating of the barbecue sauce on top. And now we are going to put it in the oven again a little bit to try to dry this out before we flip it over. So you can't just like flip it right away. And we want to get the sauce on, you know, all sides if possible. Here's our other one. So really quick. So friends of mine, I've been to like these potlucks and people have brought this, and I was always curious. You know, a lot of them, they may use seitan in there. That's another idea for adding a chewy meatiness to give it a chew. But that is gluten. So if you're gluten-free, you wouldn't choose that. They're just nice thin. We'll get as far as we can here before our time is up. That I can show you my my experiment that I did too earlier. So you guys can really get the idea on how to make this, because I wanted to choose one that had a process so that you could see, rather than getting overwhelmed by a lot of words. You can see how it's done. All right, let me grab my plunger if I need it. Plunger, there we are. Okay. So.
Another question for you, Tracy.
Yes.
Can the ribs be frozen in that form and then baked later?
You mean, so you make the dough, you make the batter,
Right.
and then you create that. I think it'll be difficult. I think you should bake it for a little while to firm it up, because it's very soft, but with baking it firms it up. So I'll show you in a second these pieces that I have, and those are the form you could freeze them in, and I think that's a good idea. So I would just get through the baking process a little bit. Okay, so starting on variable. This is my old 1990 Vitamix.
Wow.
Still works great. I got it when I first became vegan.
They have a lifetime warranty, don't they?
And the other thing is, you do still need to plug it in. Yeah, they, it's a really good company. It's a American company. They really stand by their product. Yeah, luckily, the noise gets filtered out a bit, huh?
Yeah.
But, so this is, pretty thick. But I like to do it, kind of thick. Let me get a glass. I like to do it, pretty thick because, it melts a bit, as you drink it. And so, but look at that shake. You see that? It's and then what I do is, if I don't have it right away, is stick in the fridge or the freezer. But at first we do a spoon. We eat it with a spoon, and then it becomes after a while more liquidy, but it's nice and thick. And you saw how easy that was. So just buy those bananas, make sure you peel them. Don't forget that part. Some people don't think that's that obvious, but you definitely have to peel your bananas, make it easier on yourself. And then I sliced them. You saw how they were sliced. And then keep them handy. That way you can measure them easily, grab them out, and it's delicious. Mm. You won't believe how sweet it is. Okay, so I'm going to check our ribs again. So it's not quite soft enough yet, and we're getting to our time limit here. So I'll just kind of show you what you do, and I'll show you my example. But before you start cutting it into small pieces, you cut this into thirds. So you cut here and cut here, and I can cut, but I just don't want to flip it yet because it's still soft. So you cut it so that you can easily flip it, because you're not going to have very much luck flipping something like this. And I want to also point out that you got to have a thin, you got to have a really thin spatula so that it can fit underneath here. See, so you can really get underneath and flip it. But all this will get stuck onto the paper if you don't wait. So, so I will show you my example that I made earlier and put this back. So here we have our example. I'm going to grab a different knife. That knife got a little messy. So now you can, what I did was I sliced them this way so that I had some small little guys. The longer you let it cool at this stage. So what I did was, I want to describe the whole thing. So you let it get firm on the top. So in the oven, it dries out, the barbecue sauce dries out. You flip it over, put the more barbecue sauce on the top, put it back in the oven. Let it, oh, and then you can put barbecue sauce on the sides too at that point. And then put it back in the oven for another 10-15 minutes. Let it get nice and dry, a little, you know, firmed up, because the barbecue sauce has a water content. And then you can let it, once it gets nice and firm and you got it coated with the barbecue sauce, then you can let it sit for at least 30 minutes. And this actually sat for probably an hour and a half. And then you'll slice them up. So now you're making your actual ribs. And so at this point, this could be frozen, this barbecue sauce coated guy, or you can put these in a container and freeze them. And have them for a meal. And, you know, I think just a salad with this, because it's got, you know, it's got your grains in it. It's got so much flavor. And you can see it's got a lot of texture. So, you know, we're not being deprived here at all. And that's it. So now we have like an American meal, right? All American meal. We have our creamy coleslaw, our milkshake, our ribs. And, you know, normally that would just be a nutritional disaster, but it's got all these great foods in it, and it's so much lower in fat and so much lower in calories, and just a lot of fun to make, and a lot of fun to eat, and a lot of fun to share with people. Just like, wow, look at what's in this. It's actually just rice and soy or jackfruit. That people even get more fascinated with that when you use jackfruit. So I just happen to have a lot of soy curls around. So so get, you know, they're available on Amazon. They're available from butlerfoods.com. And at some stores. So
well, thank you so much, Tracy. As I've said before to you, you are a magician. You make healthy food.
It's on
taste so
Amazon,
great.
Amazon.com. Just search for America Goes Vegan, and we love your support. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.